because I believe that's the way Robert would want me to do this, to speak from my heart, because he's more discerning than a few words on a piece of paper. Robert Hernandez always greeted you with a smile on his face and always had something humorous to tell you when you met him. And he was always with his battle buddy, Staff Sergeant J. Wilkerson. There was two peas in a pod. You never see one without the other. So therefore, when you saw them traveling around the IZ, they either walking or riding a bike, they was always together. And that's what true battle buddies do for each other. And it's just it's ironic that the day of this event, when it happened, they were partners in the same vehicle. And that's how it was always from day one. They were always partners and battle buddies. This unique event happened on March the 28th, 2006. The morning started in a misty, rainy morning. It was one of the reasons why we couldn't fly. Myself, General Bolger, and the Chief of Staff, Colonel Yarborough, was all grounded. So therefore, we knew we had to get out to Habanea, which we had an important mission to start a basic training unit out in the west. And it started with the first basic training unit they had out west. It consisted of 700 Iraqi soldiers showing up to a facility that was never even built. And we had to start it from scratch. And the Iraqi leadership didn't know how to start this. So therefore, that's why we were called to go out there and make sure that everything was in place. The general officer was taking care of business. I was taking care of things on the ground as far as the soldiers. So the mission was an important mission to be on. And no group knew it any better than the Rough Riders. Anytime myself, General Bolger, or anyone from the Men's Sticky staff travel, the Rough Riders carry that mission with a heartfelt desire to give their best and their all to the mission. And Staff Sergeant Robert Hernandez was a true example of committed to mission. That morning, it was a very eerie morning. It was one of those mornings that just didn't feel right. It just seemed like something was different than a regular morning that we'd go out on a convoy. And you can look around and look at people's faces, and you can feel it in the air. Major Williams, who was General Bolger's medic, he went off and he did something they don't usually do. He walked off and gave silent prayer. And he came back to me and he said, "Do you feel that?" And I said, "Yeah, it's something not right, but we're going to push on with the mission." And as we left Men's Sticky headquarters that morning, I jumped into gun truck number 2. Now, when I say that people keep accordance to their SOP, the Rough Riders kept in accordance to their SOP, and Robert reminded me that I was going outside their SOP. My gun truck was gun truck 5. Robert rode in gun truck 2. I threw all my gear in Robert's vehicle in his seat. I was sitting in his seat. Robert didn't hesitate a minute, despite that I was, the Command Sergeant Major of CMAT. He didn't care. He told me point blank, "Sergeant Major, you know you're in the wrong vehicle. You need to be in gun truck 5. Now, I could have trumped him and say, "Well, I'm the Command Sergeant Major. I could be anywhere in this convoy I want to." But I knew that it was important to him that I was in the right location because everyone had a mission in that convoy. And even if you was a passenger in that convoy, you also had a mission in that convoy as a team member. And you didn't deviate left or right of that SOP. So I got out of the vehicle, patted Robert on the back and said, "Yep, I know you're doing your job. Outstanding." And got in gun truck number 5. We pulled out of Men's Sticky headquarters. And anyone familiar with the IZ, when you come around the right corner of Men's Sticky headquarters, you come to a traffic circle. When we got to that traffic circle, the first irony of that day was gun truck 1 was hit by a civilian up-armored vehicle, T-boned by a civilian up-armored vehicle, which stopped the convoy. Myself and Colonel Yarborough stood off on the side of the street. We kind of looked at each other and jokingly said, "Do you want to flip coins and stay here?" I said, "Sir, we're going to press on." And so we did. We got another vehicle in, replaced the vehicle that was damaged, and we pressed on. Within an hour of the convoy, we had came through Fallujah. We were coming up to Takata, and we hit an IED going to our destination. Luckily, nobody was injured in this event that morning. The Rough Riders used the phrase, "push on," and push on we did. We kept pushing. We got to Habanea. General Boyer went to his direction, I went to my direction, and we got back together in that afternoon. It started to rain as we proceeded on getting in the vehicle. Usually when we pull out of a forward operation base, the Rough Riders had a tradition of when they pull out, fire a few rounds in the air. That let the insurgents know that we are armed and we're coming. Well, that day we didn't do that. It was something out of the norm we didn't do. To this day I wish we had done what we usually do, but we didn't do it that day. Within 1.5 miles to 2 miles from the forward operation base at Hernandez, we came into Takata, which we call TQ, and that's when we met the second IED, which hit gun truck number 2, which was Robert's vehicle. There was smoke and debris everywhere, and as my vehicle passed the smoke, I looked to my right and I saw Robert and his team's Humvee off to the side. And we automatically stopped, back up, and we took the actions that needed during such an event. But what I did notice, that one of our team members was laying on the ground outside the vehicle. That was Robert Hernandez. That side of that vehicle was where I was sitting that morning. The Rough Riders did everything according to their SOP and TTPs. They laid down suppressive fire on the enemy. The first aid people was identified to render first aid, went and assisted the wounded. General Boger's medical staff that was with him, Major Jones, he went over to assist Robert, and they stabilized Robert. But we had two obstacles. One, we could not get in contact with medevac to come in and fly in and come get the wounded. So therefore, General Boger had to take his team, go back to Habanilla, get a quick reactionary force and a medical vehicle to come back and collect up the wounded and take them to safe havens to get them to the next juncture. That was the longest 45 minutes of my life that seemed like it was forever. As I pulled rear security of the vehicle convoy to prevent other vehicles from coming inside our convoy. General Boger got back to the scene with the QRF and the medical vehicle. I left my position, went over as part of the aid and litter team, and we got Robert stabilized on the board. And as we put him in the back of the ambulance, he came by me. I was the last one to see him. And I said, Robert, you're going to be fine. You're going to be okay. And he gave me the thumbs up. That was the last time I spoke to Robert Hernandez. He gave me the thumbs up, and we felt a little bit relieved that he was able to give us a thumb up, and we figured that he'll be fine. We pushed on back to Minsticky headquarters, and we didn't find out until we got back that we lost Robert. A lot can be said about an individual, and about their character, and about the way they conduct business. Robert was not only a soldier, he was a true father to his children. And I look at him, I see a spinning image of his father. That smile is there. I noticed that this morning. And when I look at him, I look back at Robert Hernandez, who we used to call Little Buddha. But I put my uniform every day. I put my uniform on. I look in the mirror. I have a host of awards, but none mean any more to me than the cap I wear over top of my left pocket. Every time I put my uniform on, I look at that cap and I think about Robert Hernandez, because Robert Hernandez' steadfast commitment to the duty and commitment to the assignment and commitment to staying to what works saved my life, because I was sitting in that vehicle that he told me to get out of and get into the right vehicle. I was sitting in that vehicle. And I look at it as he saved my life that day. So my wife, kids, my whole entire family is indebted to Robert Hernandez. This, like Joe McLaren is saying, this makes the third building in name of Robert Hernandez. A building says a lot about a person's legacy, and is a small thank you, to me, is a small thank you for his commitment. But it's given back to Robert Hernandez for giving his all. I want to thank the Hernandez family for letting Robert go on this mission. I think you couldn't even tie him down to not go on this mission, Because as I talked to him numerous times in the dining facilities or wherever we travel, he was stoked and was fired up for this mission. So he enjoyed what he did, not only as a police officer, not only as a father, but as a soldier. So I am extremely proud of being able to serve with him, and I thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of Robert Hernandez. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Major. We're going to move into the dedication portion of our ceremony. Today's dedicatory address will be given by General Bill Garrity. General Garrity assumed command of the 80th Training Command on 29 August 2011. He previously served as the commanding general of the 81st RSC. He was also previously the chief